what the city is talking about. This is Montreal Now on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
That is James Mennie. He's over at the Montreal Gazette. So, Jim, I want to start. We haven't talked about this at all in the show, and I only heard it for the first time this morning. But I guess the provincial Liberals have told Denis Coderre, thanks, but no thanks. And is he done officially in this race?
Well, it seems so. I mean, he had to. They put out a social media post, very, very kind of short and sweet this morning, saying that his candidacy, his submission was not deemed to be usable, and sources within the Quebec Liberal Party said, "Listen, it's the tax thing. We don't have any indication that he's got this under control yet. We've got no indication that these issues have been settled, and we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars that are owed to Revenue Quebec and Revenue Canada." He had claimed that it was all set, all done. What I found interesting was his reply, which was he had no reply. He had no comment. It was like, I'll reply. I'll reply later. I don't know. I don't see any options for him, Aaron, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
This, and it seems as well that if he's going to try and pick a fight over this, I don't know. It almost seems as if the Quebec Liberals were kind of like really trying to jam the door open as long as possible for his candidacy. It doesn't look like the necessary requirements were there. The next move, obviously, is up to Denis Coderre. But if you take a look at his Facebook page, you take a look at a lot of social media this morning and this afternoon, and people are saying, and these are admirers as well, saying, you know what, stand down. You've done what you can. It's time to move on. Because right now, especially now, given what's at stake, given all the issues that have come up between today and when this leadership race was launched, I'm not entirely sure the party is going to be able to sort of like, how can I put it, bend the rules or try to be indulgent. Their survival, and that latest poll result that you and I were discussing this week shows that they've got to move on. They can't be distracted. An issue like this is clearly a distraction. Once again, he's got 5 days to appeal. He may become 1,000% in the right, and we'll be able to hear from him. But from what I've seen this morning, and from the reaction that I've seen, and even his reaction, I really get the impression that's all. He may hold a press conference, down the road, maybe this weekend, who knows? But I didn't get the impression that Denis Coderre's swing for the leadership of the Quebec Liberal Party is going to go much further than today.
Jim, you don't think there's any kind of a chance that now that he can't run provincially, he would even consider possibly coming back to run municipally?
Well, you tell me. You take a look at the city of Montreal. You take a look at the state that it's in. You take a look at the mood of Montreal voters. Do you think that they would want to give Denis Coderre a third kick at the can, especially after his the previous defeat? Well, okay, we get it. It's time for a change. But the second defeat, a lot of people pointed to that and said, you know what, that was an embarrassment. You shouldn't have done that. And don't forget the Ensemble Montréal or whatever a fundraising organization that he headed and then left abruptly after his second defeat. Is now it looks like we're gonna have a new marshal in town, Ms. Ferrada, and she's gonna probably be running for them. So I don't see it coming back on. I mean, nothing's impossible with Denis Coderre, but I don't see it happening, and I don't see how on the sort of like political horizon Denis Coderre could turn around and market himself as a viable candidate for the mayoral election of Montreal.
I will point something out in reference to this administration. Someone sent me a post and I went and took a look. I don't know where this happened. I can't be sure if it's a Montreal City Hall or not. But the idea: did you see how much the city or someone with the city actually admitted that the city has spent on bike paths?
Yeah, $800 million.
So you saw this?
Yeah.
We've been saying $500 million for a while, so it's only another. And this is from a city official saying it's $800 million on bike paths.
Yeah. But that said, you have to ask yourself the question at this point: whether you live in the east end of Montreal, the west end, whether you're down in Griffintown, whether you're up in the north end, is it still a viable option for Montreal voters to turn around and not vote the right person in, but vote the wrong person out, I don't think Montrealers can make that mistake anymore. And I've said, I think this city is, I hate to say it, is on, politically and administratively, is on its last legs. We can't afford to have any more junior chemistry set experiments conducted with this city, with its economy, and with its future. And I really get the impression that whether we want to admit it or not, the next mayoral election, if the issue may not be said out loud, is going to be the survival of Montreal. End of story.
It's too bad not too bad about Coderre not running, but I'm saying someone with that kind of character who could walk in the way you sort of just laid this out and suggest, hey, look around. We're on our last legs. You have an administration that has spent almost $1 billion on bike paths. Who does that serve necessarily? And kind of shake things up. Do you know much about this federal minister, the tourism minister who wants to run?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. I barely heard of her as a federal minister, and I'm sure I'm told she's very, very capable. I hear she's very, very capable. That's great. But you know what? We'll find out. Let her campaign. Let her get involved. Let's try not to get ahead of the game. Let's take a deep breath and take a look at all these candidacies. I mean, my God, I'm looking right now at what's happening with the federal Liberal leadership race, and I hate to put it this way, but as far as mainstream media are concerned, a railway is being built here for the Kearney Express, and I think that's a very, very dangerous game to play.
So with respect to that, obviously we talked about the poll that's out that shows most Canadians, even though the guy's, again, he's only a Liberal, hopeful right now to lead the party, he's ahead of Pierre Poilievre, which I guess says more about Pierre Poilievre than it does about Mark Carney. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it does, but it also says, guess who's been in the news, like nonstop? Guess who's getting nonstop fanboy coverage from mainstream media? You look at those 5 pictures of those leadership candidates, and I heard you talking in the last segment, Aaron. This is about who is best suited to deal with Donald Trump. Well, here's a funny thing: there's a leadership candidate who dealt with Donald Trump, who kicked his butt on the last negotiation for free trade. Her name is Chrystia Freeland, and for some reason, she's being driven to the ground like a peg by Mark Carney, who has never done any of that. So you know what? I'm going to be, my God, I'm going to date myself now. But I mean, you may remember, and I don't mean that as an insult, Aaron. The last time I saw this much of media railroading, John Turner had just been named head of the federal Liberal Party after the departure of Pierre Elliott Trudeau. And the Bay Street media said, this is the guy who's going to lead, this is the best. And remember, Chrétien was there, and I remember the condescending speech by Agnola Campagnolo, who was the party president. Yeah, you've won our hearts, but you haven't won our votes, And what did Mulroney do? He ended up mopping the floor with John Turner. I say with all due respect.
Yeah, and I say, my question was, and how did that turn out? So there you go. Fast forward a few years later.
The experts and conventional wisdom, lest we forget, okay, this leadership race, this campaign, this contest is based on card-carrying Liberal Party members. And I would respectfully submit that there isn't a single pollster in this country who knows what the actual mood of those members, newly signed up by the candidates or long-term members, is when it comes to any of these candidates. Maybe I'm being naive, but there could be some surprises in store. What I do find remarkable is, as far as I can tell, and maybe that's a reflection of the coverage she's getting, I don't find that Chrystia Freeland is campaigning at all. I mean, she'll show up in something and she'll get some coverage, I guess, but I'm not getting a sense that she's 100% in this process right now, as opposed to Mark Carney, who I'm hearing about, 24/7, and the establishment, the latest one is Jean Duclos, Quebec Lieutenant for the federal Liberals. He supports Mark Carney. That looks like he's running the table in Quebec, right? He's got Duclos. He's got Mélanie Joly. He's got Philippe François Champagne. He's got all these Quebec cabinet ministers. Guess what? That's 3 votes. The number of people who vote for him, the number of Liberal Party members who vote for him, will determine who gets to lead this party. And I'm not entirely sure this is as set and done as how can I put it, the hive mind of Canadian political media would have you believe. I think we should, as I say, take a deep breath, take a step back, take a look at what's really going on, and take a look at the campaign. And take a look and listen to what people are saying, as opposed to what we're hearing via the media. Oh, it's a great speech and this and that. Yeah. I mean, Carney gave a great speech, but is that how's that going to compare with perhaps the speech that Chrystia Freeland or Frank Bayless has yet to deliver?
No, I think you're right. I think it's obviously way too early in the game, and you're right. This does seem to be dominating the news cycle of late. It's Carney. But I would ask, remember, Chrystia Freeland at one point, I think a week or so ago, said, you know what, we need to have a minimum of 4 debates. Well, even if we don't have 4, if we have 2, I think just the face time that these other candidates are going to get changes the race completely. It'll be interesting to see how that plays
Absolutely.
out. So.
I agree with you completely, and I really hope that the party's smart enough, as opposed to going for the cheap laugh and saying, it's going to be a coronation, that we actually go through that process. Yeah. The one thing that has come forward, that has made itself clear, and that's not necessarily because of media coverage, but I'm very, very sorry, the past week, Jared Poilievre is looking for, he's like a gunfighter in the Old West who goes to draw from his holster and, pulls out a carrot. I mean, the guy really seems to have been caught flat-footed by all of the developments in this leadership race, all of the developments in the entire Trump controversy. We discussed this idea of, life sentences for fentanyl dealers. Come on, But all that said, will the next poll and the poll after that continue to indicate a 20-point lead for the federal Conservatives? Maybe, but you know what, Aaron? Straight up, I find it hard to believe these days. Usually it's hooked onto something, and we know it's been hooked onto a detestation of Justin Trudeau. But you know what? I think it's pretty clear at this point he's out of the game. So, maybe we should be watching those surveys a little more closely in the weeks to come. And as I say, be prepared, perhaps, to be surprised by this federal, Liberal leadership race.
James Mennie at the Montreal Gazette. Jim, thank you. You have a great weekend.
You too, buddy.